Hey, welcome. This is a session on storytelling, and there's no better person that I can think of to help us tell the story because facts tell, but stories sell. Is Thom Van Dyke. So, Tom, take a moment to introduce yourself.
Hi, Nancy. Yes, thank you for having me. This is very exciting. Uh, Before I introduce myself, I just have to say Nancy is one of my favorite people. So it has been so good getting to know Nancy through Idea Lab, and I'm honored to be here on her platform today. And my name is Thom Van Dyke. I am a certified StoryBrand guide from Manitoba, Canada. If you're not familiar with StoryBrand, it's an amazing way to take the seven parts of any great story and turn them into marketing. So I've been doing this for about 2.5 years. Before that, I was a pastor for 19 years. So stories have always been a big part of my life, and communication is critically important. I have loved the transition into business and being an entrepreneur.
That is great. In fact, I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about your backstory. Everybody's career path kind of meanders, and I'd love to hear, especially because you were a pastor, how it is you happen to come to do what you do. So share with us about that.
Well, that's an interesting story. It's got some hiccups along the way. Um, my original plan was to be a middle school teacher. I was going to be a geography teacher. So I actually have my degree in geography. And then about 3 months into my marriage with my wife Tara, we've been married for 22 years. We just celebrated 22 years actually. I got an invitation to join a church as a youth pastor, and so that's what I did. And I did that for 19 years. Went through, I started off in junior high, which is like grade 7 to 9 in Canada, and then I became a middle school pastor in a different church, which was grade 5 through 8. Eventually, I oversaw the entire ministry. We had about 1,500 kids under the age of grade 8 on a weekend. I had 300 volunteers, 17 staff. It was really amazing. And when the pandemic hit, all sorts of things went haywire. I think that anything that was really healthy, that was sort of magnified and shown off, and things that weren't as healthy also came to light. And so things got complicated in my role, and I decided it was time to leave. And I had a great person who believed in me. He had actually hired me. He was an NHL hockey agent, and he had hired me to write two children's books as a way. He wanted to fund them as a way to give back to the community. And so he was the one who helped me, sort of support myself. And he also helped me pay for my certification as a StoryBrand guide in that first year. It was just an incredible blessing. Um, but there was this really critical moment for me,
So I'm
Nancy.
going to interrupt,
Yeah.
and we'll get to the critical moment in a moment. However, I know that people are going to be curious to know the names of these books because
Okay.
these are really exceptional books. So, would you just share that with us, and then we'll get to your critical moment. In fact,
Sure.
and Tom is going to get the books and show us.
Well, this is the latest one I wrote. It's called "Is Something Wrong with Weasel?" And I co-wrote it with Connor Hellebuck, who, if you know the NHL, you'll know he's one of the highest ranked uh, goalies in the NHL. He plays for the Winnipeg Jets, who unfortunately just got knocked out of the playoffs. But we wrote this book together. It's called "Is Something Wrong with Weasel?" And these books are called Meet. And I did the illustrations too, by the way. And these books are called Meet in the Middle books because what happens is you read, and you get to the middle, and the book stops in the middle, and then you close it, you flip it over, and there's another story that you go through that ends at the same spot in the middle. And this book had to do with mental health issues. So the Winnipeg Jets actually picked up this book, and they have an amazing organization called Project 11, which helps kids with mental health issues across the province. So they bought many books and are selling them to raise money for Project 11. It's a great cause and something I believe in strongly, and I know something that Connor Hellebuck believes in as well. So we've been featured on NHL.com, NHL Hockey Night in Canada. TSN has featured our book. It's been pretty surreal and exciting.
Oh, it is exciting. So, folks, you never knew that you really had a storyteller here. Children's stories, adult stories. One of the things I look forward to, and you might want to join his email list, because when I get an email from Thom, it is entertaining. Yes, it has a message. Yes, it has a call to action. But honestly, this guy is a great storyteller. So, yeah, all right. So we'll let you get to that critical moment. I hope the tension built. Did the tension build up?
Okay, the critical moment. I have to try and remember what it was. I remember now.
Oh, good. Phew.
Because the transition for me from being a pastor to being an entrepreneur was incredibly difficult. I mean, we all know about imposter syndrome. It was like intense, the imposter syndrome. And then I had this moment about 3 months into my new role as a marketer, where I went, okay, actually, marketing is just communication. And I'd been a teaching pastor. I knew lots about writing stories and engaging that way, students and youth and adults as well. And I said, okay, a good leader needs to be a great communicator. And marketing is just communicating in a new way. So I just have to figure out how this new genre works. And once I could do that, I realized there's so many carryovers, and it was no problem getting clients because people knew me as a good communicator. And so when they heard that I was doing marketing, they said, "Hey, we want you to come in and help us with our websites and with our email marketing and social media and that kind of thing." It really was amazing.
Yeah. So it was the book that got you to know about StoryBrand. That was the link? So
Yeah, I was reading Building a Story Brand actually for the church that I was working for. And Building a Story Brand is Donald Miller's kind of seminal
mhm,
work on
mhm.
story-based marketing. And it's fantastic. And right in the back, it said, you could actually become a story brand guide. And I thought, "Well, maybe I could do that." And so that's how it started for me. Yeah,
Uh, and all right, so now I hope everybody listening is sufficiently, teased with all this,
right,
because now we're going to talk about that formula for how to tell a good story. So
right.
lay it on us. I know you've got all the elements, and there are 7 of them.
Right. Yes. So every good story, from modern myths in movies and the great novels of our time, from Tolkien to C.S. Lewis to J.K. Rowling, all of them follow a similar path, and it's a path that Joseph Campbell has written about the hero. Is it the hero's journey? I can't quite remember that one. Um, and then the hero and the outlaw was another one by Pearson, Carol Pearson, I think. And they talk about the 7 parts of a good story. So every story has a hero or a main character who wants something. Just straight up, they want something, and they can't get it. They run into a problem that stops them from getting what they want. Okay, whether it's they forgot to get the girl's number before she disappeared in the airport, or I can't remember who I am, like in Jason Bourne, or those sorts of things, or I'm an orphan, as Harry Potter and Luke Skywalker are. So they have a problem. That problem stops them from getting what they want, and that makes them feel a certain way. Then along comes a guide. So the third part is guide. So it goes character or hero, problem, then guide. The guide has already been through the journey that the hero has been on, and so he or she knows the way through. So she offers the solution in a 3-step plan, calls them to action. I mean, 3 steps. In the movies, it's not 3 steps, but in our marketing, it's 3 steps, and then calls them to action. That ends
Mhm,
in either failure or success. And that's the part of every story. Um,
mhm,
the guide always paints a picture of failure and success. And you can look. Uh, in fact, if a story does not follow that pattern, you leave kind of feeling hollow inside.
mhm. Yeah,
It doesn't work well. Yeah.
right. And the important thing, which I have learned, is that I am not the hero. You are not the hero. The hero is your prospect, your client, your customer.
Right.
It's the person you're trying to reach. You are the guide. And
Right.
so, and so remember, the guide is kind of a secondary character, obviously plays an important role because of their wisdom, their experience, the fact that they may have suffered like the hero and have overcome, but it's the hero that you're elevating in the story and not yourself.
Right. And that's really important, Nancy. The reason it's important is that everybody wakes up kind of as well. No, everybody does wake up as the hero of their own story, a little bit narcissistic. We all have narcissistic, egotistic tendencies. Like when you wake up in the middle of the night because you're stressed about something, you're not thinking about somebody else, you're thinking about your own stress. That's what wakes you up. Um, so whenever you have two
Yes.
heroes in a story, you have a conflict. And if a brand positions themselves as a
Hmm.
hero, what automatically happens is you have a conflict. You don't know who the story is really about. So the more we make the our customers and our clients the hero, and we play the guide to them, the more that will just work into the story of their life. Um, and you know what? Remember that the guide or the stage is the most powerful person in any story because that character has the answer already. The hero is actually kind of weak. So whenever we play the guide, we're playing to a position of strength, and that's a really good
Hmm.
thing. And by the way, I do have a little trick you can do to find out whether you're positioning yourself as the guide or the hero. Go to your website and circle, well, print it off. Just straight play, press print screen, print off your website, and circle how many times you talk about I or me, or maybe we if you're talking about a team in your copy on your in the writing on your website. And if you talk about yourself more than you talk about your client, you are playing the hero and you're pushing your client out of that role.
Oh, what a great tip. One that, by the way, you don't just have to use on a website. You can also use it on your email posts. You can use it on your social media posts. Anytime you are writing something, communicating to your client, your customer, it's a great rule of thumb because you is a better word than I or we.
It's absolutely true. It's very true.
So, yeah, so you are a wonderful storyteller, and it sounds like all the work that you've done, as a pastor, probably has given you a lot of richness to write about. And I'm thinking, Thom, that many people are kind of scratching their head, thinking, "Well, I don't know what to write about. I'm kind of empty." Do you have any thoughts to maybe, stimulate our brain cells to realize that all of us could be good storytellers?
Well, yes, I do. Now, there's this. I just have to sort of I have to qualify this a little bit because when we talk about ourselves, we have to be careful still that we're not making ourselves the hero. It's very easy to do when we write sort of memoir type um, emails or marketing copy. But this is the thing. Your stories are the only thing that are really proprietary. There's nothing, your life stories, I mean, your experiences. The reason I'm not threatened at all by AI is because I don't write AI emails. I don't write emails that if I were to ask Chat GPT, I couldn't ask them to write the emails that I write because it doesn't know me. It doesn't know that when I was 8 years old, I had an embarrassing moment, or that I had migraines when I was in grade one, or it doesn't know any of those things. And what happens is when I write the stories of my life, um, first of all, there are stories that I enjoy writing, and I think that's actually important. When we sit down to write, we have to enjoy what we're doing. We have to enjoy our own marketing. We have to believe in it. So I want to write emails that I would want to read. That's the first thing. The second thing is I also want to entertain my readers a little bit. And another thing is I want them to get to know me genuinely. Our greatest competition is not other people who do what we do. So my greatest competition is not other
Mhm.
storyboard guides. It's not other people who do coaching, marketing coaching, any of that kind of thing. My greatest competition
Mhm.
is noise, just getting noticed, standing out, and my own mindset. I have to get over myself all the time. That's my biggest competitor lives here. And so what happens is when I tell stories about my life, I'm I'm actually telling stories that nobody else can possibly know. And if I can attach them to an important lesson, that's great too. So I mean, sometimes I tell historical stories because I love history, and I can. Sometimes I look at everyday events and I go, how does that make me feel? And then I'll write a some narrative around that, and I'll tie it to a lesson. The hardest thing really is not writing the stories. It's making them relevant. You have to always pull a lesson out of them.
Yes.
What I would suggest, to answer your question, Nancy, what I would suggest is if you are stuck with what to write in terms of, how to help people get to know you, I have a welcome sequence. So if you subscribe to my email list, you will get 3 emails over the course of 3 or 4 days or something like that. And I say that in the first email. I'm going to send you these emails so you get to know me. The first email talks about my personal values. So, my personal values are very important. It's not that I can't work with people who don't share my values. It's just that if somebody does, I want people to want to work with me, and I want them to know who I am when they work with me. So, that first email is my personal values. So, you could right now, today, you could sit down and write down what are my top 3 personal values: honesty, integrity, um, service, servant leadership. Entertainment, having fun. It could be anything at all. Doesn't matter. You could write those 3 things down and you can attach a story to each of those. Where did I learn about integrity? Where did I learn about the value of having fun in business? And you could write those as emails for your audience. The second thing is my professional values. So my professional values are a little bit different than my personal values. My professional values would be putting the client first, or excellent customer service, or over delivering. And then I could write 3 stories about my 3 top professional values as well. And then the third email I always send is just the email of how can we do business together? How can I actually help you in your
Mhm.
business? But those 3 things right there, um, that'll give you stories. And and uh, i i do a lot of writing, and my mom has often said to me, I can't believe you remember so many stories from your childhood. And I say, well, actually, if you were to sit down and just think about it, when I was in grade 1, first grade,
Mhm.
do I remember my best friend? Do I remember something scary that happened? Do I remember my teacher's name? I had a teacher, her name was Mrs. O'Hara, Mrs. O, and she was so lovely, and she seemed very old even at the time, but I don't think she was as old as she seemed. And I stole a marble from her, like, I remember these things, you know? And so if you go through year by year, and maybe if you think about family vacation, you will find you have a lot a lot of material to write about.
Yeah.
And when they attach to your values, you can always draw a lesson out of it. Always, always, always. So
Yeah.
that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Well, we need to close shortly, and I'm wondering if you can share with us how we can obviously subscribe to your newsletter. And again, I believe you have a master class that might be available for some of us.
Yes,
Am I right?
I do. So it's called Master Your Message. Is my monthly free training. So it happens on the first Wednesday of every month uh, at noon Central Time. So noon Central, and
Guess what?
it's
Tomorrow is the first Wednesday.
that's right. Tomorrow would
Okay,
be
so if you're listening today on May 2nd, May 3rd, it's tomorrow.
That's right. So if you go to my website, thomvandyke.com, it's THOMVANDYCKE.com, there will be a pop up that fires up in front of your face and it'll say master your message, register here. That is the easiest way to register for it. Once you register for it, then you'll get all my emails as well, and you'll be in my
Yeah,
subscriber list.
yeah.
But I really have enjoyed that free training. It has, I think, it's added a lot of value to people's lives, and I focus on story-based marketing. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to take your story into your marketing funnel. But sometimes we
Mm.
talk about sales specifically. Sometimes we talk about just what is story brand in general.
Yeah. Well, this has been a delight to get to know you better and to hear about StoryBrand and how you came to be doing it. Also, remember tomorrow there's an opportunity for you to have a deeper dive into storytelling with Thom, or of course the first Wednesday of the month. So be sure to go to Thom Van Dyke. You can see the name on the screen.com, and it will be an amazing experience. Any last words before we sign off?
No, but I just want, well, maybe, yes, to say thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. This is always a pleasure. I love talking about story. You know what? We'd be fools actually to not think about this. For thousands upon thousands of years, people have made sense of their world through stories. Just think
Yeah.
about that. Thousands of years. Every world religion has used stories to communicate value and make sense of the world. People are still looking for stories as a sense making device. So if you can market and sell your products by inviting your customers into a story, you will just have that much more success. And that will be a great thing for you and for the world as well.
Yeah. And thank you, Darlene. Thank you, David, who are here. We appreciate it. There may be others viewing it. And as I sign off, to your sales success, we'll see you in LinkedIn.